To the world, it's just, what has she been doing? Does she work? As opposed to, oh my gosh, I work so hard and I appreciate what hard work looks like. I like working hard.
The beginning of that clip where she's like, oh my God. It's like, it's so inauthentic.
Could Meghan Markle actually be the queen of drama, or is the world just constantly misreading her moves? That question is back in the spotlight after her latest emotional podcast drop, and this time, the chatter is louder than ever. The episode put her vulnerability front and center, with tears streaming and feelings running high. Some viewers felt genuine sympathy, while others argued it only poured gasoline on the fire of criticism already shadowing her.
I don't know how much longer my father has. He won't speak to me because of this security stuff. I would love reconciliation with my family. I've always, there's no point in continuing to fight anymore. As I said, life is precious.
If you are trying to reconcile with your family, if you are trying to make amends, you don't go on TV and blame them again. This is literally the last thing.
And then there was the energy in the room with host Jamie Kernlimmer, a vibe that made some watchers squirm. Something about the closeness between the two felt almost too much, like admiration had replaced conversation. The tension was palpable, almost suffocating. Too much praise, not enough pushback, and people online noticed immediately. Social media lit up with reactions, debates, and memes.
Meghan Markle is now accused of breaking the agreement with the late Queen after podcast revelation, with the compliments of HRH, which is Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex.
But that was only the opening act. Things escalated when Meghan landed on Time magazine's top 100 most influential women list. Critics didn't hold back, calling it overrated and questioning whether she truly deserved the recognition. The timing couldn't have been more combustible. Just days later,
I made homemade strawberry jam. It's kind of like a doctor when you keep referring to them as doctor and like, call me Susan. Like I would never refer to myself as Her Royal Highness.
I think if somebody gives you a gift, you can say, so-and-so, my friend so-and-so gave me a present. Yeah. I don't feel like she needed to show.
Prince Harry's BBC interview aired, creating awkward moments that had viewers cringing and public perception teetering on edge. Behind the polished image Meghan presents to the public, former staff whispers began to resurface, painting her as demanding, exacting, and at times self-focused. These rumours reignited a debate over her real personality versus the persona fans see online. Coupled with business setbacks, like Spotify ending their deal and Netflix projects falling short of expectations, the narrative that she's a calculated figure rather than a relatable one only intensified. This swirling storm of criticism has sparked speculation about whether her royal ties are actually hanging by a thread.
She's stuck because she was an actress who became a real princess, who wants to be an actress again, but has to continue to pretend to be a real princess.
Some voices online even suggested she should stop signing gifts as Her Royal Highness. Whether that's fair or not, the conversation is relentless, growing louder with every public appearance. Her podcast was billed as completely unscripted, no makeup, just Meghan speaking her truth, but many listeners weren't convinced. To some, the whole episode felt carefully orchestrated, more performance than candid conversation. A number of viewers even joked that celebrities making outrageous claims often seem more believable than Meghan trying to showcase authenticity. That skepticism is a clear signal of just how divided public opinion has become around her image. The dynamic with Jamie didn't help either.
There are times we get together and I'm like, I just want to have DoorDash come in. And you're like, let's make some. And I'm like,
no, I don't want to cook again, Meghan. My God, take a break.
Their closeness made some observers feel the conversation was a non-stop admiration fest rather than a real interview. Critics started asking if the goal was actually to reveal anything meaningful or simply polish Meghan's brand. So what did audiences truly take away? According to skeptics, not much beyond what they already knew. Many argue the podcast was a strategic maneuver tied to her lifestyle business.
And she also is pretending like she's crying. We zoomed in just to see. There isn't a tear in sight, Dan. Look at this. I invite the viewers to take a close-up look at this. Where's the tear?
Her product launch sold out in just 30 minutes, which sounds impressive, until you consider the stock may have been deliberately limited. That's a classic marketing strategy. Manufacture urgency, hype it up, and suddenly it looks like an unstoppable win. Meghan also shared intimate glimpses into motherhood, mentioning that she writes nightly emails to her 2 children. Heartwarming? Absolutely.
That feeding of others is my self-care. Oh my God, Glenn.
You have shown me some of the most excruciating and unbearable footage I've seen in quite a long time.
But some found it almost too perfect, straight out of a parenting handbook. Meanwhile, the episode generated massive streaming numbers, with clips spreading across every social platform. Jamie called it raw and unfiltered, but many remained skeptical. Repeated emphasis that Meghan hadn't seen the questions beforehand backfired.
This woman is a born manipulator. The Netflix thing, she doesn't do the work. She don't make the jams. It's all made for her.
Instead of reassuring audiences, it amplified doubt. Why did it need to be highlighted so much? For many, it felt less like proof of authenticity and more like an effort to convince viewers of a narrative they weren't entirely buying. Alexander Larman of the Daily Mail dismissed her emotional moments as calculated attempts to stay relevant. On X, users jumped in with their own reactions.
She's not editing scripts. She's not editing what's going to happen the next day. People are putting that in place. She won't even organise her own clothes. Everything is organised for her. That is not hard work. Hard work is get up in the morning, get to 7 o'clock, get into a factory or a shop and working for 10 hours on your feet, coming home knackered. That's not what happens to her.
One person even joked that even her tears have a PR team, mocking what they perceived as overproduced delivery and questioning the genuineness of her emotions. Meanwhile, critics noted that Meghan's stories kept looping back to herself, her struggles, her ventures, which made the interview feel more like personal promotion than honest reflection. Royal insiders cited by The Express.
I don't know how much longer my father has. He won't speak to me because of this security stuff. For the time being, it's impossible for me to take my family back to the UK safely.
That's a lie. You can take them back whenever you want. You can bring your own security. You can ensure that they're safe. You can go to safe spots. There are a million ways to do it. Don't announce it. Don't tell people you're coming. Just show up and find a space and make sure it has even extra security.
Claim that no amount of emotional rebranding will repair her public image. Heartfelt or not, the damage is persistent, and perception matters more than intentions. Her appearance at the Time 100 summit sparked another round of sharp commentary. Online users debated celebrity authenticity, asking who appeared more performative, Meghan Markle or Blake Lively. Even though Meghan didn't make the 2025 list, her mere presence was enough to trigger backlash. Critics called the attention surrounding her exaggerated, arguing that public fascination often misfires.
Interview deeply alarming. It's delusional in so many ways as well.
But she is a malignant narcissist who cannot get enough of herself while she simultaneously plays the victim.
Over on X, people called her inclusion absurd. Selling jam, honey, and cupcake sprinkles hardly screams global influence. One commenter snapped, "Who does she think she is? Gayle King? That's someone who's actually changing the game." The comparison stung. GB News highlighted critics labelling Meghan a self-promoter, benefiting heavily from her royal connections, while her influence remains under constant scrutiny. For many observers, Time recognition started looking less like honour and more like confusion over what influence really means in her case. Instead of elevating her profile
and being a mom and a wife and a friend.
Oh, yeah.
Those are all jobs. I mean, I love being that busy, but I do think it's really interesting when people have no sense of what goes into the thing.
Yeah. The list seemed to reopen debates about authenticity and impact. And just when the drama seemed to simmer, Prince Harry's BBC interview turned up the heat again. He publicly criticised King Charles over security issues after losing a court appeal, sparking yet another media storm. But instead of sympathy, backlash rolled in fast. Columnist Sarah Vine called his tone self-pitying, accusing him of leveraging his father's illness for public sympathy. Palace insiders reportedly said the timing and delivery of Harry's comments showed poor judgment, given the sensitivity of the family situation. The Mirror even claimed King Charles has become far more cautious about private conversations, fearful that anything could become fodder for another public interview or documentary. Social media reactions were merciless, with users labeling Harry entitled and describing the whole...
She decided she didn't want to be a real princess because to be a real princess involves duty and responsibility, caring about other people. And so she just wanted to be a pretend princess in Hollywood. So she split her husband off from his royal family and then inked a $1 zillion deal with a bunch of media companies, and then all her projects flopped.
Magnified, dissected, and debated. Each public appearance, each statement, each carefully curated social post feeds the ongoing conversation, which seems to never die down. What's clear is that public perception of Meghan Markle remains a volatile mix of admiration, skepticism, and outright criticism. Her latest moves, whether genuine or calculated, keep people guessing, and the debate isn't slowing down anytime soon. Fans and critics alike are watching, dissecting, and questioning her every word, making it impossible for any narrative to remain uncontested. Whether Meghan is truly misunderstood or playing a high-stakes public game, the drama surrounding her shows no sign of fading, and the public remains divided, polarized, and endlessly fascinated. Even as the couple attempts to navigate fame, influence, and personal life, the world watches with a magnifying glass. Every tear, every heartfelt story, every announcement is scrutinized for hidden motives. The blend of celebrity culture, royal scrutiny, and personal branding creates a high-stakes environment where the line between authenticity and performance is constantly questioned. And through it all, Meghan's name keeps surfacing in discussions of power, influence, and the cost of public life, keeping critics talking, fans defending, and the conversation alive week after week. Could it be that Prince Harry's latest comments weren't really about security concerns at all? According to skeptics, this interview was less about safety and more about continuing an ongoing grievance campaign, a narrative that seems to widen the gap between him, Meghan, and the royal family, instead of closing it. Rather than easing tensions, it placed the family feud in full view, bringing private conflicts into the public eye and triggering endless speculation. For viewers watching, the question on everyone's mind wasn't just about the content of the interview, it was about intent. Were they finally being honest? Or was this another carefully timed media move to control perception? Just when the drama seemed to reach its peak, reports resurfaced about Meghan's former staff, bringing old rumours back into the spotlight. Once again, whispers of chaotic management, shifting expectations, and confusing communication dominated headlines. Several outlets reported that past employees described an environment where instructions changed on a whim, rules weren't clearly defined, and morale fluctuated wildly. While none of these claims were officially confirmed, they added another layer of intrigue to the ongoing debate about Meghan's leadership style, reinforcing public perceptions of unpredictability behind the scenes. Meanwhile, questions about her business direction kept surfacing. Observers noticed that rebranding attempts and new product launches were occurring at breakneck speed, leading some to wonder whether there was a coherent strategy or if she was reacting to public pressure. One critic remarked, "It feels like she's throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks." As attention shifted to media strategy, debates arose over whether the couple's frequent interviews and public statements were helping or hurting their long-term image. Some analysts argue that these high-profile interviews and statements actually keep controversies alive, preventing them from fading naturally. Others insist that speaking out is the only way the couple can maintain control of their narrative. Since stepping away from royal duties, public opinion has remained sharply divided. Supporters see Meghan as someone constantly under unfair scrutiny, while critics see her as excessively focused on self-image and branding. The truth, likely somewhere in between, but in the world of headlines, perception often trumps reality. Right now, that perception leans toward the negative. Rumours of new projects only heighten anticipation and skepticism. Observers wonder whether future releases will shift the narrative or simply repeat the familiar cycle: hype, backlash, scrutiny, and, as expected, the spotlight swings back to Meghan, bringing the same heavy accusations each time. Media personalities have not held back in offering their opinions. Megyn Kelly, for example, called Meghan a malignant narcissist, a label that sent shockwaves across social media and talk shows. Celia Walden of The Telegraph described Meghan's podcast as more of a self-focused therapy session than a meaningful interview, framing it as an exercise in self-promotion rather than honest conversation. Page 6 further fueled the debate, reporting that wellness brands such as Goop allegedly opted not to collaborate with Meghan, viewing her as too polarizing for their image. That claim alone sparked outrage and curiosity across social platforms, with users debating whether these business decisions were about reputation management or genuine caution. Critics argue that every time Meghan becomes emotional or shares personal experiences, it feels less like genuine vulnerability and more like a calculated effort to sway public perception. Emotional moments that once struck a chord now invite skepticism because people question the intention behind them. Attention then shifted to podcast host Jamie Kern-Lima, who suddenly found herself under intense scrutiny. Viewers said Jamie's energy felt over the top, almost rehearsed, like she was following a script filled with praise rather than probing questions. YouTube commentator The Royal Rogue called her tone high-pitched and artificial, suggesting she sounded more like a hired cheerleader than an independent interviewer. Rose Lanigan echoed the sentiment, saying Jamie's constant gushing turned the episode into a late-night infomercial rather than a thoughtful interview. Over on X, users piled on, calling it a full-on Meghan hype session. The irony: Jamie Kern-Lima is no ordinary host. She built and sold her company for $1 billion, proving that she understands business at the highest level. That's why many listeners were puzzled. Rather than offering strategic insight or critical questioning, she spent the hour amplifying Meghan's message. The consensus online: the episode seemed tightly controlled, focused on brand image rather than authenticity. One big question emerged: why would someone of her business acumen turn her platform into a PR showcase? The optics suggested meticulous planning, leaving viewers wondering how much of what they were seeing was genuine. Zooming out, this debate is not just about one podcast or BBC interview. Whether it's Meghan's tearful confessions or Harry's critical remarks, the recurring question remains: are they finally telling their truth, or shaping a dramatic narrative for maximum media impact? From Time magazine's controversial recognition to former staff reports about chaotic management, the scrutiny keeps stacking up. Critics label them a self-absorbed duo leveraging personal struggles for sympathy, while supporters argue they're reclaiming their voices in a system that never gave them a fair shot. Scroll through social media and skepticism is deafening. Audiences ask themselves, are we seeing real vulnerability or a masterclass in personal branding wrapped in emotional storytelling? The line between authentic emotion and careful performance has never been blurrier. While the public debates every tier, every interview clip, and every headline, most of us are simply watching royal drama unfold on our screens while managing our own everyday lives. Media analysts are raising a crucial question: can Meghan and Harry maintain this strategy long-term without it backfiring? Some experts warn that continuous public exposure leads to audience fatigue. The more frequent and emotional the interviews, the less sympathy audiences feel, and doubt slowly replaces trust. Others argue that controversy keeps them in the spotlight, and in today's media landscape, attention still equals influence. Pressure is mounting around their next moves. After the mixed reactions to prior projects, expectations are now sky high. Industry insiders are reportedly observing every step, with one executive noting that the next release must deliver tangible value, not just headlines. Results matter more than buzz, meaning that credibility will be measured in output rather than media hype. Supporters, meanwhile, remain fiercely loyal. They highlight the fact that women in the public eye often face harsher criticism than men, and argue that narratives around Meghan have often been distorted from the start. From this perspective, she's simply trying to establish an identity beyond royal life, a transition made infinitely harder under global scrutiny. Critics, conversely, interpret the repeated pattern of emotional storytelling followed closely by business ventures as manipulative, fostering distrust. Every tier paired with a product launch invites suspicion, making even heartfelt moments feel strategic rather than spontaneous. Whether fair or not, perception has become reality. Meghan and Harry's public image now sits at a critical crossroads. Every choice, from interviews to product releases to appearances, has the potential to either rebuild credibility or deepen the divide with audiences who were once supportive. And the biggest question remains, will their next moves shift public perception and rebuild trust, or will they reinforce existing doubts? With global audiences watching every word, every tear, every launch, it's clear that the couple's narrative is constantly under microscope. From calculated PR to heartfelt storytelling, the tension between authenticity and performance defines the current discourse surrounding them. Social media continues to dissect every detail. Was Meghan sincere when she got emotional? Was Harry's criticism a strategic attack or an honest airing of grievances? Every clip, every reaction, every headline is scrutinized for underlying motives, feeding the ongoing debate and keeping their public story alive. Ultimately, Meghan and Harry occupy a space where emotion, branding, and public perception collide. Each interview, each podcast, and each announcement becomes part of a larger story, a story watched, debated, and judged by millions across the world. Every move matters, and the consequences are immediate. Critics remain vigilant, supporters remain vocal, and the general public remains captivated. The couple's ability to navigate this landscape will define not only their legacy, but also the broader conversation about celebrity, royalty, and influence in the modern media age. And if you've been following this saga, don't just scroll past. Share your thoughts in the comments, tell us what you really think about Meghan and Harry, and stay connected for more breakdowns of the royal drama. If this gave you a new perspective or helped make sense of the headlines, hit subscribe, like the video, and share it with someone who's been following the story just as closely as you have.